Welcome to Blue Square Pizza. This call is recorded.
I think the healthier the starter, kind of just the healthier the whole dough program.
This is Troy. Troy owns Blue Square Pizza in Hopkinton, Mass. And he makes 3 different styles of pizza with one sourdough dough. He makes grandma, Detroit style, and a New York style. And we're going to follow him around the kitchen. He's going to show us how he does all that and have a little conversation on this episode of the SPM show.
With Troy, Blue Square Pizza Company. Troy, thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Tell me about the story of how you got here. We talked a little bit before we started here, but I would love to hear like how you got here.
Yeah.
So this was an existing pizzeria before you
bought it?
bought
It was, yeah. So there was, I think it was 3rd generation at that point. So I'm 4th. And
did it look like this, or did you do renovations?
No, I renovated it. It looks quite different.
Does it?
Actually, yeah.
Was it takeout, delivery, or what kind of pizza did they do before?
Yeah, so they were a Greek spot. So they had the whole gamut.
I see here your menu board that you don't have too many menu items.
No. So I wanted to be really pizza focused. So what we want to do is develop a core competency in pizza and just focus on that and just really kind of zero in on how do we elevate it to its, to maximize the flavor of everything we do in here. So everything is really kind of pizza focused. We have fresh salads and fresh wings, but the real kind of focus is on pizza, the dough, very specifically.
How has the community kind of embraced you?
Hopkinson's been great. When we first opened, it was a struggle because we expected a certain level of demand, and it was just, overwhelming.
Really?
We had a line out the door the first day. I opened on a Friday afternoon. I opened the doors like 4:30. I sold out by 6:30.
Really?
Yeah. The next day, I got dough ready. I sold out. I got ready for lunch. We sold out by 1. So I opened at 11, sold out at 1, closed. Got another batch of dough ready and proofing and these are Detroit. So we had dough ready for the following day, but you have to proof them. So we proofed a certain amount. Sold out of New York. So we had emergency dough status going on. Reopened at 4 and sold out at 6 again.
Wow.
And so right then we knew we kind of had an issue. So we kind of, in the first couple of weeks, we sold out every day. And then for every weekend for several months after that, the community's just been really great because A, we're selling out, which is frustrating. B, the wait times are extremely high because we just weren't organized and ready for that type of volume. But everybody was really sympathetic.
So it way exceeded your expectations.
It did, but the community was really, instead of getting nailed with 1-star Yelp reviews like can tend to happen, they were very understanding. They understood that we had a great product and that we were just trying to, we were trying to figure it out, and they understood we were busy. And they'd come in here, and the plates would be jam full, and there'd be extended waits, and some issues would arise. And they didn't really attack us for it. They kind of empathized and were patient. And we got it under control eventually, and that's kind of what our promise should be to a market is that, you start with some growing pains, but you fix it, and then you develop consistency across the way. And I think we've delivered that promise.
Are you still super busy every day?
Yeah. So we'll sell 2,300 pizzas a week, probably. Do 600 on a Friday and a Saturday.
600 pizzas on a Friday?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a deck oven?
Yeah, 2 stacks, so 4 deck ovens, and most of that is between 4 and 8 o'clock. Guys, this is Bruce from Smart
How you doing?
Marketing.
Nice to meet you.
Pablo,
Hi.
Jose, O'Neill over here.
How you doing?
And then I got CY and then Mario hiding around the corner.
Oh, nice.
So over here so we've got vodka sauce cooling. We just made that. We're dumping our dough, so we're gonna let this bulk ferment. Do some stretch and folds in a little bit, but this is the mixer. This is kind of where we do all our dough and a lot of our prep. I've got some machines here, a divider, a rounder, which I no longer use, so I'm just using this bad boy here.
You don't use the rounder anymore?
I don't, because these two don't play well together.
Okay.
And I like better because this doesn't seal the dough balls consistently enough for me to really get excited about it.
Okay.
It helps in the beginning, saved about 6 hours a day in labor. This saves a little more than that, and then we have control of the dough ball, so I like it a little better.
So you take this out, like when this is ready, you put it in there, and it just cuts into
shapes? So what's going to happen today is this is going to sit out for 4 hours. We're going to finish developing the gluten with a series of stretch and folds, and then we're going to bulk it overnight in the refrigerator, so we'll retard it. So in the morning, 7 a.m., we're going to pull this out, and then we're going to cut it to scale. We'll put it in the divider, and this will divide it in 20 dough balls essentially, and then we just finish the ball tray, and it'll go back in the cooler for 24 hours. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got central milling flour over here. I use a local stone milled flour as well from ground up flour.
So you mix the flours?
I do, yeah. So I feed my starter with the ground up, the locally stone milled flour. I like that because it adds a little nuance and flavor. So they actually work with me. It's a really great mill. We went back and forth. I went and played around with the extraction rate. So they mill to order.
Huh.
So it's kind of fresh flour coming your way. So I went with an 83% extraction rate after testing the gamut from 75 to 95. And 83 was just kind of where I landed, where I just felt like it didn't turn it into a wheat dough flavor, but it added like just this undertone, this little nuance, kind of like, something different is there. You can't quite put your finger on it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I landed with that, and they've been great because they just mill it at that spec for me.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's 2 different flours. Yeah, and we feed the starter every day, twice a day, 7 and 7. So 7 a.m., 7 p.m.
Somebody does that every day?
Yeah, every day. Do it religiously. It's
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, everything you'll see, there's going to be timers everywhere. We time everything. Dough is very important.
Where'd you learn how to do that? Like, that's the process.
I taught myself. So here's a funny thing is Blue Square, the term Blue Square pizza is an homage to the blue steel pan.
Yeah. The pan that the Detroit style pizza is cooked in.
It is, yeah. And I'll show you, I have a bunch of them kicking around here. So in 2018, when I first got introduced to Detroit style, I was just enamored by the style. It was just immediately one of my favorite style. And I always said I would like to do one at one point. And so around 2020, late 2020, I decided that it kind of was time. I'd like to start developing something. And I picked up Tony's Bible, Tony Geminiani's Pizza Bible, and that's where I started. And I realized that the Detroit style, I have to learn how to make dough. Hydration levels are very important for that. And I worked for another company at that time, and their dough just wouldn't work. It was super low hydration, more New York style. And so I fell down the rabbit hole. I started working with the basic dough recipe, and then had a lot of questions like fermentation. So a lot of guys would say, leave at room temp for 20 minutes, leave at room temp for 4 hours, and that raised questions like, okay, well, what's room temp? Why 20? Why 4 hours? What about different protein levels? How does that affect it? How do all these variables affect that? And like in the pizza books, or I thought they were great for like home bakers, but if you really wanted to kind of get a little more scientific, you had to find bread bakers. And so I shifted to studying bread baking, and I did that for quite a long time. The whole dough recipe from start to finish took 9 months.
Wow.
So that was...
Where did you practice it? At home?
Yeah, started in my home kitchen. And then I moved it to a kitchen. I own a franchise of another local chain.
Yeah.
And I moved it to the kitchen there, and when I started to commercialize it, it was just a stand mixer. So that whole recipe was 9 months. And again, studying bread baking was really kind of what took me from kind of the knowledge here to knowledge here, because it really dove into like temps, your DDTs, learned how to calculate formulas for your final dough temp, and it just really created like an elevated understanding of what all the enzymatic processes that's happening. So I always wanted to get a more flavorful dough, and so I stumbled upon sourdough. And so it was about 6 months in, my recipe was done with commercial yeast. I really nailed it down. I loved it. Hit sourdough, tried to replicate it with sourdough, and it wouldn't work. And so it took another 2 months. I almost gave up. I just couldn't get the Detroits to rise. Pans weren't performing the way I wanted. And then I reached out to Mike from Rose Hill Sourdough on Instagram. I followed him, and he and I worked back and forth on some problems. He's like, your temps are too low. You're temping for commercial yeast. You need to temp higher. They say low and slow in the pizza world with commercial yeast, which makes sense because it's so fast. With sourdough, you actually need a warmer temp to work with. You need to bulk it for longer, and then boom, like the next day, I implemented that next day. Like my Detroits were right where I wanted them to be. So
do you use the same dough for all the pizza?
I do. So one universal dough, which is the reason why it took so long, because I've got 3 different styles. I do a grandma style, a New York style, and a Detroit style.
Which is on the board right there. You can see.
Yep, right there. Yeah. And so with the Detroit, we want light and airy. So super light and airy, looks like a brick, eats like a feather. So this is my recipe, right? We've got high mountain now. Starter is not central milling anymore. It's the ground up. I'll show you that bag. So my recipe goes here. When these guys, they're taking their temps, right? Sometimes we pH test the dough because we just want to know where we are in the fermentation cycle. Usually when I make a change, so if we're we're usually 4.5 on the pH scale. Typically 4.5 to 4. But if I make a change or if I have to extend it a third day, I don't want it to go into 3.5 because it's a little too sour. So sourdough is a bit of a misnomer because I use it very early in the fermentation cycle. So the lactic acid really hasn't created that sour profile. But these guys just have to take the room temp, the flour temp, the starter temp. I've got the friction factor already baked in, and then this formula will pump out. This number is in red is the only thing that changes. So for this batch on 3.7, he is using 56 degree water. And what's going to happen when he finishes the final mix, it's going to be 68 degrees. And that's after a 1 hour auto lease, okay, despite that. So a 1 hour auto lease, it'll sit, and then he's going to incorporate the starter and then the salt and then the oil.
That's cool.
And then 68 degrees just about every single time.
Wow.
So these are the starters for the next batch, right? And then these are the straight bakes. So these have already been proofed in the proofer. And these will sit. We will still get the rise out of these at 7 o'clock tonight.
Wow.
Because they're going to sit at about 68 to 70 degrees, maybe a tad warmer today. But we want to temp. We want to know humidity levels. We want to know our temps in the area everywhere we go. So
you got dough all over the place.
Yeah. So all this. So
these are all full pans?
Those are all full pans. These are going to be the par bakes. So these are the leftovers from last night. So we wrap them to preserve them, and we've got them ready for service today. So these were everything we had left over from last night. So I mean, in a perfect world, you match supply and demand. Ground up, stone milled. This is the Glen High Gluten, so it's a 14.2% protein.
This is made specifically for you?
This, so the Glen, no, that's one of their varieties, but they mill it to my extraction rate specifically for me. So I go higher, 83%. I'd say a normal white flour is like 70 to 75%.
Yeah.
So that'll give you an idea. 8% makes a pretty big difference. That flour, I'll show it to you, is really brown for it. So you see the color on that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's darker.
We weigh everything. And I do it not so much, food cost is kind of the byproduct of it. Obviously, I built out my whole menu, the cost for every single pizza, and I know what that is. But I have build charts where we weigh left to right. So oregano, sprinkle, tomato sauce on the cheese, 3 ounces, 3 ounces of shred, which is the grande over here. And then I bring in fresh mozzarella from Leone Latticini in Brooklyn, which is the fresh that goes on our classic cheese as well. And then we have another garnishing build sheet post-bake over there that I'll show you. But a little bit about kind of our New York style. So when we build pizzas, we think of each pizza as an individual recipe. So our ingredients emit different moistures. So for example, we roast our mushrooms to get all the moisture out. So when that cooks on the pizza, it's kind of dry. Whereas the sausage, we do a Chicago hand pinch and press technique on our pizzas. Gonna emit a lot of moisture. So how do we adjust for that? We do it by adjusting our sauce portions. So the sausage and onion, you'll see, is only going to get 6 ounces of red sauce for a large, whereas a classic cheese gets 7 ounces.
Where'd you make that?
I built it on Excel and I sent it to my print guy, and he brought that back.
And then just is that just like sticking on there, like with tape?
Yeah, so they come with a sticky back on it.
Oh, wow, that's
cool.
cool.
I found a guy that could.
It's clean. You can clean it. It makes it nice and clean.
Yeah, and this is great for training. So all of this is always a training tool. It's not really a day-to-day operation tool. So a new guy that comes in has to learn it, but you're expected to memorize all these weights. And it's very easy too, because if you look at red onion on a large summer veg, it's the exact amount as red onion on a large New York. So once you handle that ingredient once or weigh that ingredient once, you know it applies across all pizzas. So it's very simple. And again, this is more so for quality in the bake, because I want the pizzas to be a specific way every time they come out of the oven. So the weights and the scale and ensure that. And again, the economic byproduct of that is I know my food cost is in control as well.
So who do you use for your online? Do you do online ordering?
I do, yeah.
Who do you use for that?
So I use Toast.
Okay.
Yeah.
They use your
Toast is a point of sale system too?
It is, yeah. So I use Toast for online ordering. I use Toast for everything. Toast is great. The ecosystem is just really, really fantastic. So I use Toast. So everything's digital in here. So we'll have a digital order board. So what happens? An order will come in. It'll hit the bump screen, the KDS in the back. Pizza will prep, go in the oven. They'll bump it. It'll go to dispatch to the Expo. Expo will bump it off that KDS, and then it'll bump from in progress to ready over here.
So what are the? I see here 6 minutes, 7 minutes. What does that mean?
Time remaining.
So does that mean it's in the oven?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So if it's over here, it doesn't necessarily mean it's in the oven yet. I would say, I mean, the Detroits take 15 to bake. So if it's in Detroit, definitely.
Yeah.
New York probably as well. There's 7 to 8 minutes. So. But so you'll see the timer to go down.
Yeah.
So it's just telling you the time remaining. So when someone comes in, they'll see their name and they'll just sit down if it's not ready, or if it's ready, they know and they'll say 26.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when does it move over to ready? When it comes out of the oven?
As soon as he boxes it and bumps it off the Expo station.
Okay.
So when that final pizza completes the order, he'll bump it and then it'll go from there to there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you don't get people come up to you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I did a meme on my Instagram about like, it's historic. You tell someone, I mean, I even do it when we go out. All right, your pizza will be ready in 15, 20 minutes. And people show up in 5.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm here for my pizza.
Yeah.
And you're like, you literally called 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
What's going on?
It happens.
That solves that problem, though.
Yeah,
Because
happens
they
all the
know,
time.
oh, Jeff, it's
Yeah.
not ready yet. I can just go take a seat.
Yeah.
When it's ready, then I can ask.
Yeah, the other thing is when it gets bumped from the KDS and it goes to ready, they get a text message.
Do they?
Yeah.
Is that from Toast?
Yeah.
They did this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they do this. This is in beta. This kind of works. It works great. The only issue I have with this is you have to use an Amazon Fire Stick. Every time that Fire Stick updates, which is like 2 weeks, the screen goes blank after 5 minutes. No one can fix it. Toast can't, Amazon can't. So what I have to do is every 2 weeks do a factory reset.
Oh.
It's a pain in the butt. It takes me 15 minutes to do. It's just a pain. So they haven't really worked that out yet. That's the only gripe I have about it. Other than that, it works great.
You have a lot of systems in here. You're very system oriented.
Yeah, and what we have, so the kicker here is, so we won top use of tech this year with Pizza,
Yeah.
mainly because of the AI ordering software that handles all of our phone calls.
What's that?
So SoundHound is the company.
Yeah.
Integrates with
I've
Toast.
heard of them.
So what happens is anyone calling right now is gonna get an AI software voice.
Is it yours?
Yeah, no, it's just like a generic robot voice, you know. And anyway, it will take the orders. It takes the orders, answers questions.
Is it accurate?
Yeah, it processes 95% of our phone orders. The only time it won't if there's like a special request it can't handle, or if there's maybe an accent that it just can't pick up on. It'll kick it to the system here. So that being said, it handles 14% of my total sales. And
What's online ordering percentage?
so the remaining, so 75.
So you don't take any phone calls?
89. Some will come through. 89% of my orders are automated. 89%.
That's
so
great.
So most of the time we're really focused on food production.
Yeah.
So my counter people, they do salads, wings. They're always a dual role. So any given night there's 6 or 7 tickets up there for them, whether it's salads, wings, and so they're mostly over there.
That was my number one hated job
Yeah.
on like a Friday night, is having to stop and answer the phone.
Yeah.
Because like back when I was operating, it was like online ordering was around, but on the customer side of it, it wasn't like something they did comfortably, you know?
Right.
It was like you had to force them to do it.
Yeah.
So there's still phones ringing off the hook. And I hated stopping to make pizza to go answer the phone. So like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a big pain. So it was kind of by necessity. So I couldn't, the students here at my counter people, I cannot find any other kind of, person to work counter here. It's just that type of market. And of course in school during the day. And so daytime we were busy. And just like you said, we had to get off the line to answer the phone. And finally, I'm just like, there's got to be a solution. So SoundHound integrates right with Toast.
Instagram. Do you do that?
I do, yeah.
You do your own Instagram?
I do, yeah.
All the pictures are. What do you use for do you just use your phone?
So there's two things going on there. 90% of it's my phone.
Yeah.
And then I have a guy I hire to every couple of months to come in to get a handful of reels and photos.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. So the stuff that's really well put together, like the reels, you'll see, that's him.
Has that been helpful to your business? Because it's really your Detroit style pizzas and grandma pizzas are pretty visual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, New York styles are too.
Yeah.
But Detroit's for some reason really pop on camera.
Yeah.
It's like the depth, the color.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
has that helped people kind of learn what Detroit style pizza is?
It has, yeah. I think any imagery and consistency on any platform is helpful. It's funny because of the demographic in this area. Facebook's actually more of a driver
really?
of sales than Instagram. Yeah,
Do you run ads on there? Or
I
just-
do. I constantly run ads on there. I spend a lot. I spend about 200 a week.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you
on
running for ads? Just like pictures of
I'll
your...
do pictures or I'll do a reel.
Yeah.
And what I find with like my Instagram strategy has been, so initially I can only afford to do my own stuff. So
Yeah.
I was just doing my own stuff. And then I can, bring a guy in maybe every couple of months. But what I find is the really high production content is good once in a while.
Yeah.
It's not good all the time.
Yeah.
So the market really likes raw stuff.
Yeah.
Like when you just drop a pizza out of the oven, you take I'll get more views and likes and interactions, engagements on that than I do with like a lot of like the really well put together stuff.
I think people the thing people miss with Instagram is it can be advertising, but it's not advertising.
Yeah.
And the mistake people make is like they just look at every single post as an ad.
Yeah.
Versus like you said, I bet you your best posts are probably like you just videotaping
Yeah.
the guy of the pizza
Always.
coming out of the oven on
Yeah.
a Friday night randomly.
Yeah.
It wasn't like set aside time. Let's like make sure everything looks perfect. It's
Yeah.
just let's just go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a prime example is R&D in the Chicago Cracker Thin style, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to launch that in a couple of weeks.
I saw you doing that on it. I actually saw that Instagram
Yeah.
post. It went on my feed.
Yeah, so that sausage, that was like just like the first rendition. I'm like, let me just get a photo,
Yeah.
a quick video of this. Burnt edges, complete beta, right?
Yeah.
But I posted it anyway just because I just wanted to. And it got like twice the engagement that I had on any other post, for a while. So that stuff is like, and one guy made a comment, beta mode. I'm like, yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally just experimenting.
Yeah.
But that's good.
It's good to see like that. I think customers like that, they appreciate you because it shows that you're always kind of working on your business.
Yeah.
Even if you're not going to have something out there, at least you're always thinking about it versus like, I'm just going to take the same photos and it's like, here's my specials.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to see that. They
Right.
tune it out after a quick second.
Yeah. It's kind of monotonous.
Yeah.
And one of the best posts I had was Super Bowl Sunday. I took a picture of the cheese being shredded, the brick cheese, and just a quick 5-second clip saying getting ready for the game, the cheese falling. That thing was like, to this day, is my #1 views
That's
on
funny.
Reels. It was insane. And I was walking by, I go, oh, let me quickly, and then I put it away, posted it like an hour later, and it just went viral. It was just crazy.
That's awesome.
Viral for us. I mean,
Yeah.
that thing,
Yeah.
But it was really cool. It was really cool to see. So I think anybody, if a decent camera phone, just get kind of raw material, collect it, and just post it every
Yeah,
once
the
in a
cameras
while,
nowadays, the phones nowadays, when we're recording this on a camera,
Yeah.
on a phone,
Yeah.
the cameras nowadays on a phone are better
Yeah.
and more nimble than cameras used to be 20 years ago.
For sure.
It was like, it's
Yeah.
amazing how
Yeah.
far they've come.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the SPM Show. For more information about Troy and what we do, check out the links below and stay tuned for the next episode of the show.